Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be Harry Muppet. We are going to be casting a 1v1 Masters League game. On the top left side we do have our red Terran player Tink, and on the bottom right side we do have our blue Protoss player nexKnowMe. Now it's all his replays that I've got a huge amount of them, so you should be expecting to see quite a lot of him over the next couple of weeks. And you should be expecting to see him win quite a lot of them as well, because of course he is a Masters player. But let us not forget that our red Terran player is also a Masters player, and the Terran player does not want our blue Protoss player to make oracles, and blue Protoss doesn't want him to make medevacs. So I'm quite sure that at least somebody will break their promise, or if they're even promising, which I'm not sure they are. But regardless, it is going to be an exciting game. Even if they go for Marines versus Zealots, then yes, I'm sure it will still be exciting, because these are Masters players and they do have excellent micro, so they can make almost any unit in the entire game run circles around every other unit. I'm sure there are some exceptions. It's probably hard to make an Immortal run circles around a Phoenix or something like that, but yes, I'm sure these guys would give it a go if they had the chance. Now, the start of this game, not too much happening. We'll just have a quick look at this map. We've had a look at this map before. This is the map with this little sort of balcony thing going on here. My mouse is a little bit laggy at the moment, but there you go. So that's good for siege tanks if they go up this way, but vast majority of time the invasion will come in from this direction, just because I guess there isn't a balcony going on there. And of course most armies tend to go straight past the watchtowers on the way there, so it's yeah, I've seen that. Of course, when you go up here, definitely this cliff is I've never actually seen siege tanks on this cliff, but I would not be surprised to see it. However, as I said, it only really blocks this entrance, doesn't do much protection for this other one, but we'll see what's going on. Now, I have noticed that in Terran and Protoss games, when they're versing Zerg, they tend to expand very fast, because they've got to keep up with the Zerg's insane amount of economy early in the game. And the Zerg really have, in Heart of the Swarm, transition to early economy builds as opposed to early rush builds. They do early rush builds versus other Zerg, but versus Protoss and Terran they tend to go for insane economy early on. So the Protoss have sort of countered that with early expansions. I'm not sure about Protoss versus Terran though, because these are kind of slower, heavier builds than the Zerg. The Zerg is generally very fast and a lot more fluid, but the units fall apart a little bit more quickly. But we do have expansions coming down for both players almost at exactly the same time. This guy's, yeah, it's about 40%. This guy's about 40%. Very good. You can see the command center going down at the base. Most players will put it down here, but I don't think he's really fearing an attack from the Protoss player, so is not going to need to put it up at the top there. And there we go, that Reaper. So that Reaper actually, did that Reaper actually regenerate health? I think he might have. That's a bit funky, I didn't know they did that. But there we go. Reapers regenerating health. Here comes the Stalkers, here comes the Mothership Core. He's going to be doing a bit of harass. Here comes the Reaper back. I want to see if this little bastard regenerates health. There he goes, he's running off. Keep an eye on his health. 40, 40, 40, 40, 40. We'll keep him selected for now while we have a look. There we go, he's regenerating health. I did not think that infantry did that. Maybe that's just the Reapers. We'll have a look at some other infantry later on. But there we go, some pretty standard stuff going on for the Protoss. He's going Robo off one gateway. That is pretty fast. That's a pretty fast Robo. He's going for an Observer straight up for some scouting. Let's just make sure I'm not... Yeah, that is one gateway so far. So Robo off one gate. That's an extremely fast Robo build. Against the Terrans, we could potentially... Oh, look at that. G is upgrades. I didn't know that. Yeah, G is upgrades. Okay, we got to check out that tab later on. Yeah, so Observer coming out. Will not be surprised to see some Immortals. There he goes, the first Immortal coming out. So, if the Terran decides to do some drops, decides to do some Marauder play is pretty damn good versus Protoss early game. You get the Marines in there. The Marines are not quite beefy to stand up to Stalkers and to stand up to Zealots, but Marauders are quite beefy. They do a lot of damage to armored targets, and they just rip through the starting Protoss army. But of course, Immortals do a massive amount of damage to Marauders. So there we go. Observer coming in, and that was a good decision to get the Observer up there because he has seen the dropship. The question is though, with only one gateway, is he going to be able to defend this? Where's that Immortal? He's actually moving out this army. He's got to have that Immortal somewhere at the back of his base somewhere. I don't know where it is. Was he even there? He's still building one. Did he cancel it and start to build an Observer? I think he must have, but he's going to be in trouble here. Here he goes, overcharging the Mothership Core. And look at the range on this thing, 13 range. I don't think he can drop without the medevac getting shot down. Of course he can just wait his time for this to run out. I'm sure that's definitely an option. This Stalker is going to get in range. There he goes, it does a boost. Drops these guys. Widowmine in the middle. But that was never going to happen. The cannon right here has taken out those Widowmines as soon as they went down, and I don't think he got any hits off. Meanwhile, this Protoss army is got down here, but he is taking a few hits from the Widowmines, and that's really burnt down the rest of his army. Now all he's got left is an Immortal. It lasts quite a long time, but it is not suited to be hitting Marines, so that army is going to go down. Got a bit of to and fro, but it's turning out about equal at the moment. If you have a look at the income, 39 versus 38. So we're pretty much good at this point. Let's that's the units. Where's the upgrades tab? Okay, alright, this is the sort of tab we need, because that doesn't show the ones that are just building, that shows the ones that have already happened. So finally, after only casting about 50 games, I know exactly how to find out whether the Stalkers have blink yet or not. I didn't know that before, we know it now. So we've got the upgrades tab. So let's keep moving on after that momentous discovery. We're going to keep going, and we've got another Immortal coming out, and he should be able to push this drop off. Mothership Core should be able to overcharge the Nexus, and this drop, I mean, overcharging the Nexus with the Mothership Core, such an you could say it's overpowered. If the Nexus could overcharge without the Mothership Core, it would be overpowered. But the fact that you need the Mothership Core there, it's not completely overpowered. However, it is pretty damn good. I mean, that overcharged Nexus, oh, excuse me, does an insane amount of damage to drops. I mean, the drops just don't stand a chance once the Nexus has been overcharged. I mean, it's just absolutely crazy. What is this thing? I can't see it because there's a worker building. But I want to check out the damage. It seems to 2-shot Marines. I think it was like 5-shotting medevacs. Oh, he's going to keep... Damn you and your awesome macro. I want to check the damage on this thing, but you keep building workers. Whatever. Must have an Observer out here. He's going to see all the Widowmines going on. Widowmines are the new awesome unit for the Terran army, just like Swarm Hosts are the new awesome unit for the Zerg army. You just get a few of them and it just completely revamps the battlefield entirely. Here we go, with one Widowmine. He wants to make a name for himself. He's going to go out there, he's going to get in a sweet position, and he's going to do a lot of damage. But here's the scan though. Oh, there he goes. He's going a bit too much. He's been spotted, and that's it. He's burying himself at the expansion over here, but he took a little bit of a wrong route, went straight past the Protoss main army, and that is not going to be in his favour. And here we go, an army coming out, Marine Marauder, medevac with a bunch of Widowmines for support. So this is going to be pretty good. But here we go, 4 Immortals. That's a very large amount. I think these little guys are probably armoured as well. So the Immortals probably do a massive amount of damage to them. And here we go. He's going to get a nice flank here, but a Time Warp over there is going to stop these guys from moving in. Of course, Time Warp slows down the attack speed as well as the movement speed, so you never want to be attacking while you're in that Time Warp. Here we go, the Protoss army moving in. They've got the observer so they can see all the Widow Mines. They've taken out most of them, but some reinforcing Widow Mines coming up the backside. And it's going to do a bit of a push here. The Protoss army very, very weak here. They've lost almost all of their shields, the Immortals. This one is just living on a prayer at the moment, just absolutely close to death. He's going to get some reinforcements though, and I think this should be good. But here we go, there's a drop coming around. Where's the mothership core? That's an Oracle, that's not the mothership core. Where is his mothership core? If it's over near this base, then he's fine. I have no idea where the damn thing is. Maybe it got killed, maybe it got destroyed. If he has the mothership core over at his main base, I think it was destroyed. So this drop could do quite a bit of damage here. He's got some cannons here, but not all the cannons are in range to protect these guys. So he's going to have to warp in some units here. There we go. There's a whole bunch of Zealots and a High Templar. There we go. Feedback on the medevac. That thing just completely died. Here we go. On the other side of the base, we have the Warp Prism dropping down a couple of Zealots. But the forces that have just been built by these barracks are going to push that away. Meanwhile, we've got an attack coming up here. Attack down the bottom right on the Protoss base has been wiped out. This attack is coming in. These Zealots do not have legs, which is going to be a disadvantage. And this massive amount of Marines with Stim, it's just going to absolutely obliterate the Zealot numbers, and just leaving the Immortals and the Sentries and the Stalkers. But Immortals are not designed to deal with Marines, and with this many Marines, I mean the Marines are far in majority, but they're just going to be able to push this away. Meanwhile, the Warp Prism has gone up. These forces obviously pulled out to this attack here, and meanwhile he's warped in more units. He took out a large amount of workers, I think. We have a look at the income tab. Not a huge amount, but the Terran may have been ahead before. He's definitely not ahead now. And the Protoss player going to go in there. He's going to do a lot of worker damage, and then he is going to get out. Meanwhile, dropping up here while the Terran force is over in his main base. And yeah, these Zealots, man, just taking out a ton of workers here. And these infantry just all over the place. He's going to move the Warp Prism over to the third base. This base is fully cleaned up. This one is cleaned up, and this guy is just going to sit there and wait for the next opportunity. Meanwhile, the third base is down for the Protoss player, and I think the Protoss player is definitely in a good position at the moment. He's not ahead on army size, he's not too ahead on economy, but he's a little bit ahead, and I think he's got the advantage in that he is pushing the Terran player back into a defensive mindset. He's really pushing him in there. He's really doing a good job. And if we have a look at the upgrades tab, 1 weapons, 2 armor for the Protoss, 2 weapons, 1 armor for the Terran player. So pretty much the same, I'd say. You can see these 3 upgrades are the must-have upgrades for the Terran infantry forces, and you usually all see them all getting researched fairly early in the game. So he's got all of them now. And if we have a look, there we go, Ghost Academy. He could be going for EMP, of course, to wipe out the shields of the Protoss army, or he could be going for nukes, and wouldn't that just be awesome? There we go, storms. Storms all over the place. This is the bane of the Triple M army. He's going to burrow some Widow Mines. He's going to do an attack. He's actually trying to wipe out the Mothership Core. I'm not sure if there was random, or he's actually aiming with the Mothership Core. But I think the High Templar are out of energy, and the remnants of this Terran force are going to fight back. They do have an Archon to look after now. Here comes some more High Templar in. Going to get up a couple more storms, and I think this is going to push the Terran army away. He saved most of his medevacs, if not all of his medevacs, but most of his infantry was destroyed. And there he goes, he's running off, and the introduction of High Templar into this game has taken it on a whole new level for the Terran player. He's got to wonder, can I keep building Marine Marauder? Can I keep doing this? Is it going to work? And of course the bonus of the Ghosts as well is that their EMP attack does drain not only shields, but it also drains energy. So if he gets a good EMP off on the High Templars, they cannot use Storm, and the Terran army will most likely go on to victory if he can get a couple of good EMPs off on the High Templar. And look at this guy. Oh, that is just brutal. Absolutely brutal. It only took out 3 workers out, but he can probably get another one off when he gets up to 75 energy. So there we go. He's just waiting for it, waiting for it. Come on, get the Storm down. I think it's 75 energy. Is it 75 energy? There he goes. Might have been 80 energy, I'm not sure. But anyway, he's gone in there. He's done a massive amount of damage. This High Templar, I think, paid for itself. Probably got like 6-7 workers taken out. And meanwhile, the Protoss army just going around the middle. He's got to be careful though. There's a little bit of a Widow Mine there. And that guy hasn't got any kills yet, but I'm sure he would love to start racking up some kills. Meanwhile, this Observer here doing an excellent job of scouting out all the movements of the Terran army. So he knows this one's coming. Look at this. He's got another Widow. He's got another Observer over here. He's got observers everywhere, just keeping track of where the Terran army is moving around. And the Terran army, he's got a fair amount of ghosts here. He's got Marine Marauders built back up again. He's got about 7 or 8 medevacs. So he is ready to get in there and start doing some damage. We've got some more High Templars. He's still building Immortals, which is a great idea because there are a decent amount of Marauders here. He's also starting to build Colossus. So between Colossus and High Templars, oh, did you see that? I think he just sniped a couple of High Templar, which had just been built up here. And that's awesome. There he is. I think there was a feedback there on one of the ghosts. There we go. So one feedback on a ghost with more than half energy. There we go. There's some storms going down. And you can see this High Templar instantly morphed into Archons. So the ghost not able to get the EMPs off when they needed to for that battle. And just the storms laying down, really cutting that army back. They have to retreat once again. Luckily he's not losing any medevacs, but this ground army is just getting pulverized. His production is pretty good at the moment. 3 Marauders and 7, I can assume, is about 8 Marines at the most, although this one's producing a Marine. So yeah, so that's a pretty good production capability. And he is keeping up with the Protoss army, but once the Colossus start getting out there, for combination of the Archons as well, he is going to start to get out-teched completely. Have a look at the upgrades. He's got 3 too. The Protoss only 1 2. He's been working more on his higher tech than he has on his basic ground upgrades. Meanwhile, the Terran players really pushed in and really got the upgrades going. So 3 weapons. That is a very scary Terran army. But the storms, man, if he just keeps getting those storms off perfectly like he has been doing, then this army is just going to get wiped out again and again and again. And I'm not sure. He really needs to get some good micro off with those ghosts, getting the feedback off on the High Templar. Where are the High Templar all the way back here? There we go. You can see that EMP getting off. All the Zealots have no energy. It's going to move in there. There comes the first storm, right in the middle of the Terran army. And these Zealots now have legs, so they're going to getting right in there, providing a nice shield. The Marines and the Marauders take out all the Zealots, but the important units up the back are relatively unscathed. And once again, the Terran army is just pushed back. They do not have a counter for this storm at the moment. The EMPs are just not getting off on the right units, if indeed they are getting off at all. And of course, the High Templar surviving turned into Archons, and that's just going to bolster this Protoss force even more. You can see there's about a 30-35 gap between the army of the Protoss player and the Terran player, and he's now getting up a 4th base on the bottom left side. This Protoss player is really pushing this game so far. And there you see 14 Harvester increase, 14 Harvester in front. So he's just going absolutely nuts, and I think he's in a very good position to win the game at this moment, because the Terran player is getting some Vikings out now, and they should be a very effective counter versus Colossus. Usually you need about 2 to 3 Vikings for each Colossus you're trying to take out. I'd recommend 3 just to take him out nice and quickly. But the High Templar, the Vikings don't do anything versus the High Templar. He needs some excellent EMPs versus the High Templar, and he hasn't got them so far. And we'll have to see how he does. There we go. A couple of High Templars coming down there. These guys took him out before they fully warped in, so good job on that. But they are still going to die. And I think they took out a few workers, but not enough. You can still see a ton of workers here. Actually, that took him down quite a lot. I think he's lost 9 workers in that engagement. So, very scary there. 2 more command centers. This is really a heavy mining base at the moment, so he may be going for planetary fortresses here, which will be a fairly excellent option. Of course, Psionic Storm, not any good versus planetary fortresses. But there we go, this Colossus army, he's really going nuts. He's got the double robo producing them. He's started going on the upgrades. He is getting blink at the moment. What are these guys doing? Just a couple of Zealots, managed to get a Widow Mine. So that was probably worth it. 2 Zealots to kill a Widow Mine, I would say, is more than worth. Oh, but this is bad. Although he did shoot an Immortal. That is got to be the absolute worst choice for a Widow Mine. I mean, if I don't think there's a worse unit that a Widow Mine can shoot than an Immortal, because the Immortal just really doesn't give a shit. Although, is he waiting for an Observer so he can take out this Widow Mine? Because he's really got to pay attention. He's going to take a very heavy hit, and if it hits some High Templar, I'm not sure if it could take him out. I think a direct hit on a High Templar might be able to take it out, and that would be bad, but he's going to get out of there just in time. I'm still not sure if he was actually aware of the Widow Mine there or not, or if he just got lucky, but he is going to get out of there. He's going to save his forces. The Terran army is really going overboard on these Vikings. It definitely needs to, because he's got like 5 Colossus and maybe a couple of new ones waiting back at the base that he has to fight against. But you got to remember, Colossus aren't the only thing he has to worry about. He has to worry about the High Templar, and I'm still not sure that he's got a solution for that problem. The Ghosts are the counter, but I'm not sure that he's good enough to get the hits off that he needs to get off. And we'll see exactly what's going to happen in the next couple of encounters, whether he manages to do this. It looks like the Colossus, with 7 Colossus, I mean the Vikings will take him out, but the Colossus will have completely wiped out the Grand Army by the time the Vikings take out the Colossus. So the Grand Army's gone, there's no doubt about that with all these Colossus and with the High Templar. There we go, 1 cannon out. Protoss player has done a fairly good job. He's got to get this army moving across this here though, because here he goes. Oh, this is beautiful. Another pylon at the back to back up these cannons, but that Marine Marauder army is just so beefy at the moment. I don't think they're going to have... I think they are going to take out the Nexus here if they just concentrate on it. Ignore the enemy forces. There it goes. It's down. And for the first time in a fair while, I believe the Terran player may have an economic advantage. He's only 4 workers behind, and he is 1 base up. So I would not be surprised to see him try and pull ahead a little bit here. He's not maxed out. The Protoss player is maxed out. And the Protoss player has a crap load, not a crap load, but a fair amount more resources than the Terran player does. So I don't think the Protoss player is in any sort of trouble at the moment. If we have a look at the upgrades again, he's just got 3-3. The Terran player has got 3-3 as well. And it really is just waiting for a showdown at this point of the game. We just got to see whose micro is better when they finally go in and they finally attack each other. The Terran player doing an excellent job of sending in drops. The Protoss player doing an excellent job of setting up cannons everywhere. It's never been an easy route for the Terran player to go in and just start taking stuff out. And the cannons, of course, buying the Protoss player time to get his army in there and to ward off these attacks. So really good use of cannons. And we've only just noticed, well, I've only just noticed, you guys probably noticed like 5 minutes ago, the Protoss player did have an extra base over there. So losing this hasn't set him back too far. He's actually still on the same base as the Terran, and he is 1 base up ahead now. It looks like these are just macro orbitals. You've heard of macro hatcheries, but these are going to be macro orbitals. This is just going to be mules all day, every day for this Terran player. And there we go. Colossus coming in there. The Vikings are doing a massive amount of damage. These Colossus are all just being ripped apart. But meanwhile, Archon's at the front, Stalkers and all that, wiping out these guys quite a bit. He's kept his Stalkers back. Not his Stalkers, he's kept his Marauders back a little bit. Away from the Colossus. He's got to move them in now. And these guys, man, they're doing quite a lot of damage. I really like that play from the Terran player. He had 2 waves. He had the Marauders up here, and then he had a whole bunch of Marines in there. The Colossus wiped out the Marines, but the Marauders were not in range of the Colossus. And they hung back, and then once the the Vikings had taken out all the Colossus, he moved in, and he wiped out the rest of the forces with the Marauders. But the Storms coming out now from those High Templars, just absolutely molesting this Terran army. And he is going to back off again, but we've pretty much evened it out now. He lost so many Colossus, he lost the vast majority of his ground army. He only pushed this Terran army away by getting some High Templar out and doing some nice storms. But he has pushed the Terran army back, and we are back. Oh no, oh look at this, look at this. I don't know how he got up that fast, but my god. He just built 1 billion Stalkers all in one go. How many gateways does this guy have? Where's his gateways? I'm on the structures tab, I don't see the gateways. Why are there no gateways on the structures tab? This is messing me up. Alright, so it's got a 6, 7, 8, alright, so there's a shitload of gateways all over the place. So yeah, that's pretty sweet. So he could definitely build up this many stalkers in one go, I think. I don't think he'd have many problems doing that. And he's pushing out the Colossus again. He's pushing out the High Templar again. He's starting to get a bit gas starved, but he's on 5 bases, so I think he should be fine. And he's just got to keep pushing out with this army and really make a push. He's so far ahead on the army tab, and he's just got to get in there, got to take out these bases. These guys are going to move in, but I don't think they're going to have any luck at this time. If the Colossus backing them up, he's just going to wipe these guys out, and there we go. There's the GG from our Terran player. He played an awesome game. Very nice use of drops, and very nice use of the Marine Marauder Widowmine type push, but he never quite had the Protoss's number for those High Templar. He did a beautiful counter for the Colossus. This battle over here, he sacrificed the Marines, he used the Vikings to take out the Colossus, and then the Marauders came in and wiped everything out, and that was just awesome. That was really awesome. I think the Marines and the Ghosts at the front may have even been just sniping the High Templar or trying to wipe out the High Templar or something, because there was no storms left when the Marauders went in after the whole battle is finished. So I got to think those guys at the front were just wiping out High Templar and just letting the Colossus kill them. So that was an excellent counter, but overall, I mean, High Templar, you just kept pumping him out, and they just kept storming everything. And I mean, when you've got a whole group of Marauders down here, down the bottom side of the map, going out and sniping stuff, there's really nothing you can do versus High Templars, because it only takes half a second to get a storm off, and by then your army's down to like half health, and you're just like, well, nuts to this. So yeah, it's just bad, but there we go. Beautiful use of High Templar, beautiful use of Colossus by the Protoss player, and a very, very nice to and fro here. It's definitely close for most of the game, but the Protoss player edged it out at the end, and congratulations to him. It was an awesome game. Thank you very much for watching it, and I'll catch you guys later. This has been Hairy Muppet.